February the 1st, 1995, Richey Edwards, the lyricist and rhythm guitarist of the Manic Street Preachers, vanished without a trace. He was just 27 years old. To this day, no one knows what happened to him. This is the story of Richey James Edwards, the poet, the visionary, and one of rock's greatest mysteries. Richard James Edwards was born on December the 22nd, 1967 in Blackwood, Wales. He grew up in a close family with his parents, Graham and Sherry, and his younger sister, Rachel. Rachel later described their childhood as happy and ordinary, a time when Richie was protective, kind, and full of curiosity. At Oakdale Comprehensive School, Richie met Nicky Wire, James Dean Bradfield, and Sean Moore, future bandmates and lifelong friends. After earning a degree in political history from the University of Wales, Swansea, he joined their band, the Manic Street Preachers. At first, he wasn't a musician at all, just a driver and roadie, but soon he became the lyricist, designer and creative voice. Richie's words were his weapon. He fused punk rock with political theory, literature and raw emotion. Camus, Orwell, Plath, Dostoevsky, the voices echoed through his lyrics. He once said, "Why is everyone hung up on an ugly piece of wood and metal and strings?" Richie didn't care about guitar solos, he cared about the truth. But that truth came from a painful place. He suffered from depression, self-harm and insomnia, and he never hid it. In 1991, after a show, an enemy journalist questioned his authenticity. Richie responded by carving the words "for real" into his own arm. It took 18 stitches to close the wound and made him a cult icon overnight. In 1994, Richie poured everything into the Holy Bible, a masterpiece of pain, politics and poetry. He described it as a mirror held up to human suffering, but behind the brilliance, it was falling apart. He checked into psychiatric hospitals, first Whitchurch, then the Priory, missing interviews and shows. When he returned, the band performed again, intense, emotional and volatile. Their final show with Richie came at London's Astoria on December 21st, 1994. It ended in destruction, instruments smashed, lights shattered, and Richie destroying his guitar before walking off the stage for the last time. On February the 1st, 1995, Richie and James Dean Bradfield were due to fly to the United States for a promotional tour, but Richie never showed up. In the 2 weeks before he vanished, he withdrew £200 every day, nearly £3,000 in total. He gave a friend a book titled Novel with Cocaine, telling her to read the introduction about an author vanishes after a stay in an asylum. At his hotel, he left behind a wrapped box containing books, art and a note reading, "I love you." That morning, he drove back to Cardiff. He left behind his passport, antidepressants and a toll receipt from the Severn Bridge. 2 weeks later, police found his car abandoned at the Severn View service station. Inside, family photos. Outside, nothing but fog and silence. The Severn Bridge was a known suicide spot, but Richie's body was never found. In 2018, a discovery changed everything. Investigators realised the 2:55 on his toll receipt wasn't 2:55 p.m, it was 2:55 a.m. That meant Richie crossed the bridge hours earlier than anyone believed. It shattered the old timeline and reignited theories that he may have planned his disappearance rather than ending his life. There were alleged sightings in Newport, in Goa, the Canary Islands, but none were ever confirmed. In 2008, Richey Edwards was legally declared dead But for his bandmates, he was never forgotten. In 2009, Manic Street Preachers released Journal for Plague Lovers, an album built entirely from lyrics Richie left behind. Even now, a quarter of the band's royalties still go into an account in his name. His words remain powerful, disturbing, poetic and beautiful. Journalist Caitlin Moran once said, "He was the first person in the public eye to talk about depression and self-harm, not with bravado, but with humility, sense and bleak humour." Was Richey Edwards lost to despair, or did he plan to vanish to escape the world that consumed him? We may never know, but perhaps that's the point. Because for those who loved him, Richie didn't disappear. He simply became part of the music, a haunting voice that still whispers from the margins of rock history. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like, subscribe and share for more deep dives into mysteries.